The Trojan War. The greatest story of love and war ever told in history. They have told you that beautiful Helen launched 1,000 ships. Achilles was the invincible hero. And that a wooden horse was what opened the city's gates. But, what if I told you that all of this might be nothing but an illusion? There is not a single piece of evidence for the existence of the horse. No inscription mentions Helen or Achilles. No city matches all the details described in the Iliad. The question is not, did the Trojan War really happen? The more disturbing question is, who wrote history? And who created the myth? I am Roy. In this episode, we will not retell the story you know. We will dig into the evidence. We will expose the contradictions. And we will read between the lines of the Iliad. Let us begin from the end. Troy did indeed exist. Not as one city, but 9 cities built on top of each other's ruins. Layers of stone and blood tell the story of a conflict that lasted 1,000 years. And one of these cities burned completely. Its walls were destroyed. And there were remains of arrows and spears. But, no wooden horse. No name of Hector. No Paris. Everything we know about the heroes of Troy came from a single source. Homer, a blind poet who never witnessed the war at all. So, was he a historian? Or a brilliant screenwriter of his era? Troy was not just a city of love. It was the gateway to the ancient world. Every ship carrying gold, tin, or grain between Asia and Europe had to pass beneath its walls. Whoever controls Troy, controls the richest trade routes. Here, the paradox is revealed. The story says the war began because Paris abducted Helen. But Hittite and Egyptian records tell a deeper conflict: ports, taxes, and alliances. Was Helen merely a beautiful cover for a purely economic war? Before we get to the wooden horse, pause at the man who made the war an epic. Hector. While his brother Paris hid behind the walls, Hector stood alone defending his city. The most famous confrontation in world literature. Hector versus Achilles. The result, the death of the noble hero at the hands of the unbeatable warrior. Then, the death of Achilles himself at the hands of the cowardly Paris. A treacherous arrow in the heel. These details are what made the Iliad immortal. But they do not appear on any single stone inscription. The wooden horse, the greatest military trick in literary history. But real military minds ask, how can 50 soldiers hide inside a wooden structure 20 meters long without a single dog hearing them? How can they endure days without moving and without food? And how can an army that fought for 10 years be fooled by a giant gift? The most accepted theory among researchers. The word horse was a poetic description of a massive siege engine. Over time, the literary description turned into a literal truth. And some marginal texts mention another name, Antenor. The Trojan advisor who opened the gate at night, not with a horse, but with betrayal from within. Troy was not alone. Hittite documents mention a kingdom called Wilusa, and its conflict with Ahiewa, ancient Greece. And Egyptian sources tell of the Sea Peoples, who swept through the region 50 years after the Trojan War. The Trojan War, then, was not a love story. It was part of a collapse wave that swept away entire civilizations. The Hittites. The Mycenaeans. And the Dark Age that lasted for centuries. The truth, there was a city of Troy. It burned. It fell in a war. The myth, Helen. The wooden horse. And the details we have memorized by heart. Perhaps Homer never wrote history at all. Perhaps he wrote the greatest propaganda story of the ancient world. And this brings us back to a bigger question. How do we read history? Do we take stories as they are told? Or do we look for the economic, political, and geopolitical interests behind every beautiful narrative? The question I leave for you. Do you think every major war in history has its own Trojan horse? A beautiful story told to the public, hiding deeper complexities beneath it? If you have made it this far, thank you for your time. Subscribe and hit the bell. Next episode. The secrets of Rome's fall, the empire that ate itself. Rome did not fall only at the hands of the barbarians. The fall began from within. With corrupt walls. And armies stronger than their emperors. Because empires do not die suddenly. They rot slowly. Soon.